Alright, if you're like me and you thought winter was over from the Northeast, I'm happy to say that we were both wrong. As you can see, there is a major snowstorm that is going to be building in really throughout the day. Tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, you can see parts of Maine, maybe foot and a half of snow. Throughout New York, we're maybe going to be getting 2 to 4 inches, maybe 5 inches in some of the higher elevation places, and then really some heavy bullseyes just off of the lakes where we're going to get some significant lake effect snow. Now, before we get started, I will say I make these forecast videos every single morning. So if you are somebody who enjoys following the weather, or you end up enjoying this video, you can subscribe to my channel. Alright, diving into my screen here, this is going to be a pretty awesome snowstorm for the Northeast. I thought winter was over about a week or 2 weeks ago, and it looks like it's coming back full force. So let's dive in and actually look at the precipitation as it fills in through the Northeast. Early this morning, you might have heard some thunderstorms, some heavy hail, some rain, and that's because this low moved through at about 1 a.m. this morning, but then moved off probably by the time you woke up. That exact low brought some crazy weather to the Midwest. There was golf ball sized hail. I saw a photo of a car that was just dented like crazy from 3-inch hail just pelting it. That's probably why you want to park your car in a garage and check the weather report if severe weather is on its way. So that low really moved through fast. By the time you woke up, that one was probably already gone. The system we're going to be looking at that's going to be bringing some really nice snowfall to the Northeast is this one that's going to first show up on about 1 a.m. Thursday. So it shows up first in the form of rain. That's because typically in front of a low, it has warm air on the right side of a low because of the counterclockwise circulation. So first it's going to show up as rain. It's going to be actually some really heavy rain for Ohio. That's going to be about 0.2 to 0.4 inches per hour. That right there is probably going to be a pretty severe thunderstorm. And then just like the last one, it's a quick mover. It's already back up into New York. And then again, starts as rain because again, counterclockwise circulation around a low goes like this. So on the right side, it's bringing warm air up. On the left side, it's bringing cold air down. And as it turns out, this low is actually going to lead to a major cold air Arctic invasion. And I actually just did an entire video on that because the cold air invasion is so extreme. And then there's an even bigger one coming in a week or two. So you can check out my channel if you want the forecast just on the cold air invasion. So this low, as we move through, it really hits between Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon. We see really heavy rainfall showing up for Connecticut, Massachusetts, really throughout the entire Northeast. That's going to move through New York first, going to bring some heavy rainfall, then Vermont, New Hampshire, going to start to see it. And then this is when Maine first starts to pick up a little bit of snow. This is again 1 p.m. on Thursday. And you can see some of that heavy snowfall rates has started to build into northern and western Maine. And then the snowfall really intensifies throughout Thursday evening into Friday morning. This system really happens Thursday and Friday. It moves through real quick and then it's gone. But the rates are so impressive because of how low this low is. Again, that's 978 millibars. That is an extremely low. And that's why the rates are so impressive with this. Moves through fast, but it drops a lot as it moves through. So this is showing about 7 p.m. on Thursday, and all of Maine is getting some heavy snowfall rates. That's about 0.2 inches per hour of snow, and you're going to be picking it up for hours at a time. So that's how we're getting a foot, maybe a foot and a half of snow throughout Maine, and then some parts of northern New Hampshire at this time. And again, that's because this is where the cold air is showing up first. As I continue to move through here, that wind that's going around the low, that's going to start to bring in the rest of the cold air to the Northeast. And then that's when we can start seeing some snow building into New York. That's probably going to happen by the time you're waking up on Friday morning. I don't know if you're still commuting to work or if coronavirus hopefully has you working from home. But if you were commuting, Friday morning is probably going to be a tough travel day for New York as that cold air is filled in, and then we're really getting some nice lake effect snow, especially in the northern, central, and western parts of the state. That's some pretty heavy rates right there. That's going to lead to maybe 5 to 8 inches of snow in really the high elevation, coldest places that get the most lake effect. And then that's really going to fill in. Like I said, it's a quick mover, so by Saturday morning it's gone. But really starting Thursday, first shows up in Maine, and then as that cold air fills in, that cold Arctic invasion of air, the snow is going to fill in basically for the rest of New England. Pretty awesome that we're just start of April to mid-April and we're still getting a major snowstorm. So one thing I always really like to look at is the jet stream. It is by definition the separation of warm and cold air. That massive pressure gradient creates the strong winds that we see in the jet stream. And it basically tells you where cold air is above the jet stream and warm air is below the jet stream. And as you'll see, really throughout the day today, over the Midwest and Northeast, it looks pretty flat. If you see it's west-east, that I typically look at that and I say, well, there is not really any exciting weather happening. But you're going to see this huge dip in the jet stream start to fill into the Midwest by about Wednesday evening. By Thursday morning, it has hit the Northeast full force. This dip in the jet stream, think about that, cold air on the northern side has filled into the Northeast. You can especially see in Maine, completely in that cold air Arctic region. The one other thing to look at when talking about the jet stream is the colors. The colors, by that I mean how strong are the winds. So when it's purples, that's maybe 80 to 90 knots. Pretty significant, but we're way up in the atmosphere, so that's pretty much expected. Where you see these yellows and dark yellows, that's working into 150 to 170 knots. Now I know what you're thinking, that wind is way up in the atmosphere, who cares? But it actually does propagate downward. The energy, if you have 150 knot winds way up in the atmosphere, some of that energy is going to come down to the surface. And the big part of this storm is the winds that we're going to be seeing with it. Throughout Maine, there's going to be some 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts. The same is going to hold true for New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. Winds are going to be a big factor with this one. 35 to 40 mile per hour gusts throughout much of the Northeast. And that's what's really leading to the strong lake effect. It's the winds that cause lake effect snow. And as you can see, there's a lot of wind energy associated with the jet stream as it moves through. So looking at the surface temperatures, if the precipitation were falling right now or early Thursday, it would just all be rain. There's no below freezing temperatures. How I know that? You just look for where's the blue color. They colored it perfectly so that you can easily see where are the temperatures below freezing. And really moving into Thursday morning, you can see much of the Northeast is still above freezing. Places in New York, well above freezing, about 53 degrees in Albany. And even in Maine, we're in the high 30s, maybe low 40s. But as this low continues to move through, you'll notice that cold, blue color, freezing air start to pull down from Canada. And this map really shows you, it shows up in Maine first. And then as that low moves through, wow, 974 millibars. That is a low right there. That's why these winds are going to be so extreme with this system, because this is a low. This is a strong storm that's going to be moving through Thursday and Friday. So you can see at this point, this is about 5 p.m. on Thursday for the Northeast. Really, this is starting Thursday evening and then it lasts through Friday. You can see that cold air has really filled into Maine. That's where these winds right here are going to be pushing in moisture from the Atlantic. And then because it's so cold, all that moisture is going to be able to fall as snow. That's really why Maine is picking up the most. You can see these heavy winds are going to be pushing in the water vapor you need to get clouds and precipitation. And then the cold air is filled in so that precipitation falls as snow. As we move through Friday, this is really when we start to see the snow build into New York and Vermont. And again, that's because that cold air has been able to fill in because of the winds associated with this low. You can really see it on this map, the counterclockwise circulation. And if we zoom in to the lakes here, you can see the winds are going to be going right over the lakes. What that does, kind of the same thing as when wind goes over the Atlantic, it pushes in moisture and it pushes in cold air. That moisture and cold air Moisture creates clouds, precipitation, and then the cold air that you see here below freezing throughout much of north, central, and western New York, combined with that moisture, is going to lead to snow. So let's check out the snow as it fills in. Again, by about 1 p.m. on Thursday, not much has happened for the Northeast, and then it really starts to fill in. Thursday evening and Friday morning, you can see 7 to 9 inches in northern New Hampshire, western Maine, picking up probably a foot of snow by, again, Thursday at 7 p.m. And right where we saw that moisture filling in, that cold air being pulled down, basically all of Maine has been getting snow at this point. 1 to 2 inches on the eastern parts of the state, central 2 to 4, western probably a foot by this time. And then you can see Thursday evening to Friday morning, that's when the bulk of this storm is hitting. Western Maine picked up maybe 1.5 feet of snow just in this 24-hour period. Northern New Hampshire, probably about 1 foot of snow as well. And notice it hasn't started to fill in to Vermont or New York yet, and that's because the cold air hasn't filled in yet. As we move through here, let's just go right into Friday evening to Saturday morning. That's when the snow really starts to fill into Vermont and New York. New York, you're probably picking up 2 to 4 inches throughout the day Friday. Vermont, same story, probably 1 to 3 in the southern parts of the state. Northern parts, where it's a little bit colder, probably 2 to 4 inches. We'll check out the total snowfall that you're going to be getting throughout Thursday, Friday, a little bit Saturday morning. You can see Maine is getting the bulk of it. That's where the cold air pulled down and the moisture pushed in. They're getting really 1.5 feet throughout majority of the state. Southern parts, still getting 1 foot of snow. Northern parts of New Hampshire, probably 1 foot of snow as well, while the southern parts of the state don't really pick up anything. The reason for that, it's closer to the warm Gulf Stream right here, and that really moderates temperatures along the coast, keeps them a lot warmer, makes it so their precipitation falls as rain instead of snow. Vermont, you're picking up snow later in the period with this system, but you're maybe getting 2 to 4 inches throughout basically all of your state. New York has a little bit heavier precipitation, and that's because you're closer to the lake, so you get more of that lake effect. You get maybe 2 to 4 inches, maybe 5 to 8 inches in the higher elevation, colder places. Now, this system really hits New York on Friday and early Saturday morning, so I will probably have done 4 forecast videos by then covering this storm. So if you want to see those, and if you perhaps enjoyed this video, or you maybe learned something new, you can subscribe to my channel so that you can learn more in the future. Thanks for watching.